Thank you everybody for joining us today. This session, as you've probably noticed, is all about something we love and probably miss very much, and that is tourism. We're very excited to be the only tourism session at the conference, which gives us the added advantage in that we can take up an hour of your time talking about this wonderful industry and the challenges that it currently faces. My name is Gabby Walters. I'm an associate professor at the University of Queensland. I'll be chairing this session, and as we progress through, I'll also be chairing a panel in the latter part of this session. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, who is going to be talking about the theme of this, within the theme of this particular session, that is sustainable and inclusive tourism growth in Indonesia. Christin Laschinger is a project manager for SUSTOUR. She's based in Bali in Indonesia, and today she will commence our presentation lineup with her project that looks at cleanliness, health, safety and environmental sustainability as a step to prepare for the safe reintroduction of tourism. So Christin, if I can just ask you to share your screen and take us away with our first presentation for this session, that would be great.
Hello, thank you, Gabby, and good day, everyone. My name is Christin, and I am currently managing the SUSTOUR project for Swisscontact Indonesia. I'm based out of Bali, and today we do have the honor to present on the topic of sustainable tourism recovery in Indonesia. And we, as practitioners, would like to provide some examples from the field and how we have experienced the topic. As Gabby introduced already, we have two presentations today. I will start with the topic of CHSE and looking at the businesses from a COVID recovery perspective. And after my presentation, my colleague will follow with a lens on the policy perspective. Yet, before we really dive into the topic, I would briefly like to introduce who we are. We are representatives of Swisscontact. Swisscontact is an international non-profit organization based out of Switzerland. And we're also a leading organization in the implementation of international development projects around the globe. At the moment, since in 2020, we have had 117 projects in 39 countries around the world. And all projects do focus on the promotion of inclusive economic, social, and also ecological development, with the aim to make a more effective contribution towards sustainable and also widespread prosperity in developing and emerging economies. Our main focus is in project implementation, yet we do also have advisory services and engage in research. We do focus on three main aspects, as you can see here on the right side of the slide. Firstly, we do aim to strengthen the competitiveness, the competencies of people so as to improve their employability. We also do focus much on increasing the competitiveness of enterprises, so as to grow their business. And the third part is economy, with the aim to foster social and economic system to promote a more inclusive development. We do have here our main working areas or area of expertise, which are or have been for a long time very much focused on vocational education and training, also retaining and labor market integration. Secondly, we do have the business promotion or the entrepreneurship, which focuses on ecosystems, green cities, sustainable tourism, which we will talk about today, and also some other topics such as trade and green cities. So now we slide an overview of the SUSTOUR project. where me and Ferry are representatives of today. So the SUSTOUR project is a bilateral project between the Swiss and the Indonesian government. We have been active since 2018 here in Indonesia, focusing on 2 destinations, as you can see, which is all part of Eastern Indonesia, Flores in Nusa Tenggara Timur, and also Wakatobi in Sulawesi Tenggara. We focus on 2 main areas, which is the policy framework that my colleague will be talking about later on, and myself focusing on sustainable tourism products and services. So more into looking into the business and SME perspective of sustainable tourism. All in all, the project is focused on sustainable tourism destination development. We are based out of Bali, yet our working areas are the 2 destinations of Wakatobi and Flores. This also means that our example of today, both mine and also that my colleague, will focus on pilots from those 2 destinations. So as Gabby introduced at the beginning, our topic of sustainable tourism today is focused on COVID recovery, or what here is called CHSE, Cleanliness, Health, Safety and Environmental Stability. To start with, if we look back at the beginning of the pandemic, Indonesia actually has had its first official case relatively late on the 2nd of March 2020, and since then, yeah, infections have still been on the rise, and it's still prevalent across Indonesia, with now more than 2,100,000 cases actually, and more than 50,000 deaths. So it's still a very hot topic here in Indonesia, and the government and also the businesses did or have taken steps to prepare themselves for a reopening to tourism. Yet what I would like to focus on today is what has been the strategy of the government, and more precisely the Ministry of Tourism, in order to support that reopening. So the Ministry of Tourism, they have the so-called Cleanliness, Health, Safety and Environmental Sustainability, CHSE protocols that are based on internationally accepted protocols from endorsed by UNWTO, and then further developed by several ministries, such as the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Home Affairs, and also the Ministry of Transportation. So these protocols have been further developed and also prepared in modules. Yes, the CHSE modules. They have been socialized all over the country, especially focusing on the 5 super priority destinations that they have here in Indonesia to develop tourism further. Towards the end of the year, it was also started with a certification program on the application of these CHSE or safety and health protocols in the tourism industry. So this is, from that perspective, actually a nice program that was set up on the national level, led by the Ministry of Tourism. Yet, obviously, this also has come with a couple of challenges on how to implement that strategy, and to actually make sure that those protocols and standards are adhered to and implemented by the tourism industry and by the tourism businesses. So here you can see a couple of points that we have identified, or that we have seen over the last months, that have been an issue on where it was struggling, the businesses were struggling locally. So at the beginning, there was a very low understanding of COVID itself, and the importance of having protocols and standards in place, especially what concerns smaller businesses, SMEs, or even MSMEs. They have had difficulties in translating these protocols and standards in a way so that it fits the way they work, yeah, as smaller businesses, not as corporate, bigger businesses that are more for whom it is more easy to implement them. Also, the national level certification criteria. So I've said that there's been a certification program by the Ministry of Tourism that has been implemented towards the end of the year. This was actually a good program, yet since the criteria and the protocols have been overwhelming a bit with a lot of different varieties, cleanliness, health, safety, plus the environmental sustainability, the businesses have become a little scared of actually applying for this certification scheme. And yeah, what happened was that they were overwhelmed and often did not do anything. Also monitoring and evaluation within the business, as well as on the local level from the government, was almost non-existent. So this is where we in SUSTOUR as a project came in and started a pilot initiative, so to say, to support the hospitality industry locally in Flores and in Wakatobi with a program, or a training and a coaching program, that shall help them to translate those higher level protocols and standards and break them down into more easily understandable singular modules of CHSE. So basically on what does it mean to have cleanliness standards, health standards, safety standards, and then also the component of environmental sustainability. So this is a bit the model. So we have had the first focus on that CHSE, or on the CHS, the cleanliness, health and safety. And then in the next step, to make it easier for the businesses to break down the complexity, then focus on environmental sustainability, or on sustainability in tourism in general, with 3 further modules, as you can see here. A very strong focus in module 3 on responsible hotel management, responsible hotel operations, including the whole lot of waste management, of energy management, of water and wastewater management, community engagement, etc., even until the 4th module that then focuses on promotion. But to start with, the first module was really strong on the CHS, so on the health and safety protocols, to help the businesses to really break them down and make sense of them. And this here is a bit the basic process that we applied in the pilot with the businesses. So it started really from establishing a COVID response team within the business, even if it's a small business, yeah, an SME or MSME. Going then further to risk assessment, to applying the hierarchy of controls to minimize or eliminate exposure to hazards from COVID, develop action plans, revise or write SOPs that are very often in smaller hotels here not yet available. Then also implement, obviously, the protocols, train internally the staff, and then monitor and communicate or promote the efforts. This only very shortly. So it's a program that is not only group training, but after group training very much focuses on coaching with the individual businesses. So we have trained local trainers in the destinations that are able to implement and run this program with the businesses locally, online and offline. Here are some results. So it did work out very well, actually, for the pilot. So we had 12 businesses for the pilot joining in Flores and 6 in Wakatobi, to see if the program, if the intervention strategy holds. And most of them have been able to implement what was set out in the protocols and in the standards. So as you can see here, it's just some examples. So it was really on applying the CHS protocols in each department of the hotel. So from housekeeping to kitchen to front office. So everyone involved in the operations. And then also in the end, communicate to the market the efforts that have been done. So here on the website or on OTAs, and also here offline in email signatures, flyers, and sales marketing that they are now applying CHSE. And one example from Wakatobi is actually that it has helped the businesses, or in this case, this particular business, to improve their occupancy in times of COVID to about 30%, and as such, obviously also have an income increase for the time being. This was basically because now they have had protocols in place and have basically been able to gain customer trust. This obviously was for domestic tourists because international borders are not yet open, but very much for government guests, which is currently the main market at the moment here in Indonesia. So the journey still continues. So what I just presented were the results basically of the CHS, so the COVID, cleanliness, health and safety protocols. In the next step, we will focus on the environmental sustainability, the E of the CHSE, so that the businesses then can also apply those standards, and in the future then apply for any awards and the certification of the Ministry of Tourism. The CHSE certification, the Indonesia Green Hotel Award, and also some local hotel award that we are currently developing with the government in Labuan Bajo. That is it already. So a very short
Christin, you're just cutting out. That was perfect timing for your AV to start playing up. Can people hear?
Okay, great. Thank you.
So Christin, you're just breaking up a little bit, but I'll just give you a second to try and come back to us. I think you're back now. It just froze for a little bit, but thank you very much for a fascinating presentation. It's really interesting to see how all of this is playing out, outside of our own context here in Australia. And it seems like you're doing some great work there. And it was a great presentation because you were able to demonstrate to us the successful outcomes of this initiative, particularly with that 30% increase in patronage for the operators involved in this scheme. We do have a question from the audience, and this is from Michael, and Michael asks, for training, was it a partnership training with other stakeholders or done by your organisation only? And if partners, then who are the partners involved in the training?
Yes, thank you. That's a very good question. Thanks for raising this, Michael. So it was a training done in partnership. So we in Swisscontact, or especially in SUSTOUR, we usually facilitate. We do not implement ourselves. So we have a partner for this, a national training service provider from Jakarta, actually. They are called Excellence Plus Indonesia. And we have a partnership with them to train local trainers in the two destinations of Flores and Wakatobi. And obviously, they are then also able to replicate this model in other tourism destinations in Indonesia. So not only in Flores and in Wakatobi, but also in other places. Other than that, we have also been very closely involved with the local government in Flores and in Wakatobi, with the tourism authority, who have, after the pilot, replicated this training individually with the partner for the entire tourism industry in Labuan Bajo. So they have scaled this intervention up, or the training up, to further 100 businesses in Flores. And the same also applied to Wakatobi. So we are, to answer short, we have a partner, and we're also endorsing others to replicate this model.
Excellent. And I'm loving that background. I'm assuming that's Flores there in the background.
Yes, this is actually Kelimutu National Park in eastern Flores, close to the town of Ende. It's a very beautiful place.
It looks very beautiful.
Everyone should visit once.
We must, when the borders open. Thank you very much, Christin. That was a really informative presentation. But in terms of timekeeping, I might move along. So if I can just ask you to take your slides down. Our next speaker is Ferry Samosir. Ferry is also in Bali. He's also in Indonesia. And Ferry is the Deputy Project Manager of SUSTOUR and lead intervention on the policy sector based in Bali. And Ferry is going to be talking to us today about the policy framework for the growth of sustainable tourism. So Ferry, please share your slides. Any questions? I forgot to mention this before. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A, or you can also pop them in the chat as well, and I'll do my best to ask the speakers on your behalf at the end of the presentation. Thank you, Ferry.
Thanks a lot, Gabby. Hello, everyone. My name is Ferry. Now I'm going to present the other side of the SUSTOUR project, as Gabby said. This one will be focusing on the policy framework for the growth of sustainable tourism. Okay. Yeah, this presentation is taken from our experience in Wakatobi, Indonesia, and I will start with the questions. How does the destination governance benefit destinations, local populations, and the visitors? The sustainable tourism development in these presentations refers to the context of the National Sustainable Tourism Destination Standard of Indonesia under Tourism Ministerial Regulation number 14/2016. It is established since 2016 and recognized by the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. The standard consists of 4 categories, 42 criteria, and 104 indicators according to the version 1, and covering category of economic benefit for local communities, cultural protections for the communities and visitors, environmental conservations, and also the destination governance. The context of governance, the destination governance of Indonesia cannot be distinguished with the governance in the general term. That Indonesia has 3 layers government. They are central, province, and the districts. And the local government at the district level has a local management autonomy, including tourism sectors. And the local government has the greatest authority for the tourism sector in its territory. Industry associations appear in several destinations, but the largest destination management authority is in the hands of the local governments. And this situation becomes complicated when a tourist destination crosses more than one local government's territory. It is because cooperation between 2 or more local government in the context of tourism is not an easy thing for Indonesian context. And therefore, the destinations are mostly managed by a local government working system, and the system is not really operating yet with a sustainable tourism orientation. And usually, or mostly, it founded that the management is a supply-driven, mostly driven by local government assumptions rather than the market demand. And the last one, the silo effect. It's a system process department that operates in isolation is often found in Indonesian context. In this case, that resources distributed to different authorities are difficult to use to support tourism authorities. Here is the explanation. This is the profile of Wakatobi. It is located in the southeastern part of Sulawesi Island. In 2018, it has visitor arrival number on 35,000. 19,000 of it are international visitors, mainly from Europe, Canada, USA, and Indonesia itself. Wakatobi destination sells diving, snorkeling, nature scenery beaches, island hopping, and culture also traditional villages. It is an emerging destination and it has 96 population according to data in 2019. And it is including in the 10 of national priority destinations of Indonesian program. This slide will explain the constraints about the SIL effect. In the local destination context, the biggest problem of local government are the dispersed authority over the sustainable aspect of the tourism sectors and the isolated working of government system. And this all will make it difficult for the tourism authority to mobilize relevant authorities because the system does not provide for that. Planning and policy take place in a silo mechanism, leaving almost no room for collaboration between authorities. For example, tourism authorities will find it very difficult to mobilize environmental authorities to meet the needs of tourism attractions. Or the same difficulties also occur in local economic aspect, very related to the communities. And after several times, the observation and investigation, then SUSTOUR find out alternative solutions and try to over the Wakatobi local government to bridging the limitation by establishing a local platform. It is possible to add a way of working through a local platform format under the authority of the district leader. This way was selected because the fundamental structure changes are nearly impossible as they fall into the domain of long legislative approval. The local platform is a forum for official communication and coordination between authorities related to the sustainable tourism issues. This forum allows the relevant authorities to contribute to the tourism sectors outside of their main duties as a public servants. On the other hand, the tourism authority is no longer the only authority responsible for the sustainable tourism aspect, as they are not within its jurisdiction. And this slide illustrates a snapshot how the local platforms catalyze local governance system. They started with the self-assessment of Wakatobi destinations against the national standard of sustainable tourism and identified the weaknesses. In this example, 2 issues of destination weaknesses were followed up by local government on the regulatory aspect regarding the ban of the use of plastic-based packaging. And the second one is initiative in the development of tour product and local product of a tourism village area. And if we see these slides, this graph illustrates the profile of the framework of the tourism governance system in Wakatobi, which includes category of sustainable standard, governance, economic benefits, cultural preservation, and environmental conservation. The color has a meaning. The red color represents that the instruments that are not available at all in the system. The yellow one, the instruments that are far away from the sufficient situations. The blue color for instruments that are still inadequate, and the green color is for the available instrument that found out in Wakatobi. The local platform analyzed the weaknesses in the issue represented by the red, yellow, and the blue colors, and afterward the local platform taken actions, decisions that considering the available they have. This is one example of the follow-up that compared to the national criteria that the development of regulation should limiting the use of plastic-based packaging bags. Like most tourist destinations, plastic waste is unavoidable. Self-assessment identified the absence of the system, neither instrument related to this issue in Wakatobi. And then the local platform coordinated the development of regulation concerning the prohibitions of the plastic-based packaging. The goal is prohibition of using plastic packaging in every activities of the tourism industry, with the target area tourism industry, including hotels, restaurants, etc., tourism objects, and the local community for their activities, such as traditional, cultural, or religion events. The second example is the role of local platform to mobilize the local authorities to empower a tourism village, namely Kahiyanga. According to criteria B9, that to support the local entrepreneurs, the local platform tried to collect and to lobby to make an approach to different authorities that related to this tourism village, and their activities is referred to the result of the self-assessment that they find out that no any system existing in the destination to support the local communities also from the tourism sectors. And then now the outcomes are the official cooperation, including programs and funds from 4 local tourism authorities and 4 village government for weaving training for handicraft and exhibitions of local products in Kahiyanga village. This empowerment also takes advantage of the opinion and presence of the private sector, a way that is not usually done by the local governments before. The involvement of this private sector as an intermediary that provides training and has interest in the handicraft product produced. After this approach, we can say this is just a pilot approach, then the local governments and also the private sector in the destination see the potential benefit for this, and they are now trying to do the same approach for the next planning of the local government. So what made the difference before and after the presence of the Sustainable Tourism Local Platform? From the Wakatobi experience, we learned that previously no one has yet played a catalytic role in collaborating with multiple authorities. The existing local governance system does not provide sufficient space for an integrated planning of a sector collectively, in this case of sustainable tourism. Then the local platform allows integrated planning between authorities, including possibility to synergize various resources, authority and funds, in an integrated or directed manner. And the last one, the local platform enables the locals to become more empowered by leveraging the various resources from multiple stakeholders. I think that's all from our experience, and now I'm sending it back to you, Gabby. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ferry. That was a really insightful presentation. If any of our listeners have any questions, you can pop them in the chat now, but I'd have to ask you to do that fairly quickly. It's always challenging when you're having to type a question rather than ask the question. But Ferry, that's really interesting, and I'm really keen to hear more about this project in the panel, which, given there are no questions popping up in the chat, we might move straight on to. So everybody, at the beginning, I informed you that we're going to have a couple of presentations, and then because we have this entire session, we're going to also include a panel. So I've got 2 more speakers, which I'm very excited to introduce. And in the spirit of bringing academics and our industry consultants together to discuss these issues around sustainability, I'm very excited to firstly introduce Professor Lisa Ruhanen. Lisa is a professor at the University of Queensland, and she is a specialist in sustainable tourism, destination governance, and also Indigenous tourism. So welcome, Lisa, and thank you very much for joining us today. I'm also really excited to welcome Dr. David Ermen. Now, David, coincidentally, it's such a small world when I asked David to come on because of his broad expertise and knowledge in this space. He actually said, oh, yes, Ferry and Christin. Hi, Ferry and Christin. He's worked with them before. So it's such a small world in the tourism sector. But nonetheless, David comes to us today with significant expertise in this field, having worked all over the world. So David is a tourism and sustainability consultant, researcher, and also a startup coach based in New Zealand with, as I mentioned before, significant international development experience. And we're also inviting Christin and Ferry to join the panel today as well. So without further ado, I'm going to start with a question for you, Christin. Just before I start, the panel will go for around 15-20 minutes, and then we'll have some times for Q&A. So if any questions pop up while we're talking, please put them in the Q&A, or you can put them in the chat. I'm monitoring both, and we'll ask those questions at the end. So Christin, my question to you is, there's obviously evidence and some solid uptake of the cleanliness, health, safety, responsibility, and the CHSR recommendations. But there are also some challenges and constraints, and there is probably not as much uptake as you would like to see. Why do you think, or what are the challenges behind local tourism stakeholders not implementing these recommendations, particularly at the current time?
Thank you, Gabby, for the question. It's a very good and a very important question that has been with us since the last year. We have seen, especially in Flores and in Wakatobi, where we are active, that especially at the beginning of the pandemic, there has been a lack of understanding of COVID itself and the potential consequences of COVID and what this could mean to the business and also to the destination. So in terms of reputation, in terms of regaining customer trust with having proper protocols, health and safety protocols in place. So this was a bit the lack of understanding at the beginning. It has become better now since we've been in the pandemic for a while, and obviously many stakeholders have done a lot of socialization efforts. Yet when it comes to SMEs, to smaller tourism businesses, especially outside of Bali and in our destinations, one of the big challenges is, as I said previously, that they are very often not fully aware of how they can make sense of those protocols. The protocols are very often written in a general way, and you need to find a way really of how to translate this. And instead of doing this and putting this into context of their own businesses, they are getting passive. So okay, then I don't do it because it's too complicated for me. Also, the smaller businesses internally, they don't really have the workplace systems in place that would support the implementation of such measures, with a minimum number of staff who usually handle various departments at once. No clear responsibilities between management, owner, and staff. So internal control mechanisms. No one really checks back on the staff. Do they do it? Do they not do it? External inspections, obviously, as well. From external audits, government controls. It's a big issue. So we have seen it with the certification that has been initiated on the national level with the Ministry of Tourism. That's been a very good step, and they also will do yearly inspections. But again, those businesses who until now do join the certifications are mostly star-rated hotels who are confident enough to apply for that certification because they feel they have all those criteria and standards in place, including environmental sustainability. So the smaller businesses tend to be left out and also not be controlled in the long run. So it's a bit of a tricky issue. Obviously, as I said before, we have done our pilot, but yeah, you see, it's a pilot. It's a small number of businesses. Even if it's scaled up with other organizations and the government. I mean, Indonesia is a huge country, so those perhaps are some of the main challenges internally within the business, the structure of the businesses, and also externally with the government. On the local level, especially.
And as you say, some of the main challenges, and I'm sure there's many more, but it sounds to me like you're doing a fantastic job over there. We're going to put our academics on the spot later in the session, and they'll give you the answers for that one, Christin. I'm kidding. Okay, Ferry, I'm going to ask you a question now. So you also mentioned that there's some challenges there in terms of the governance approach to tourism development. And you also mentioned that you spoke about or referred to silos. So I'm interested to know about the differences between the Balinese and the Javanese people's relationship with and response to government in terms of this quest to modify their governance approach to tourism development, because there are differences, right?
Yes, exactly. That's also another good question, and I think it's this pandemic COVID give an example that's so different, and I think the destination governance will relate on. For me, it's two main things. The first one is how the governance itself, that for Indonesian context is in the hands of the government. And the second one is how the local people itself that influenced by their culture. For the local people, if I see, of course, this is not a really deep analysis, but the Balinese workers from the tourism sectors, I have a feeling that they really have a very good resilience. They immediately change their livelihood. They immediately change their target market if they still work in the tourism sectors, and they fine with that. But the workers from outside of the Balinese, usually they go back to their original and without no clear plan. And some people I know have no job now after they're back to their place. But from the government side, also have some very important reminder. The critical concern for destinations for Bali. I think everybody remember in 2000 there is a Bali bombing, and the tourism in Indonesia are collapsed. But then the Bali government understand how important to open a good relationship with the market, and they just really do a very serious introduction to convince the world that the Bali is safe. In the first 3 years after Bali bombing, they spend some money. They change the class program. They go to every European country, Australian country as well as their market, and but Toraja destination, which also affecting by the Bali bombing, thinks that the recovery will come automatically. At the time in the beginning of 2000, the Toraja actually the second destination after Bali. But then now, because in the previous project we work also in Toraja, it's really forgotten. So I'm saying that how important that the government who knows that the destination have a strong potential to keep relationship and to the market and be sensitive to what is the dynamics of the market, including this pandemic, because without them, then their destination will be forgotten. So I think, for this local government in Indonesian context, I'm really worried because they don't have that knowledge, they don't have that feelings that they are a product. Then they have to maintain the product to the market side. I think that's it, Gabby.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So would I be right in taking from that there is also a false sense of hope or security, in that because that Bali bounced back so well after the bombings, that it will just happen again without too much effort?
I think what I heard, they've been really focusing on how to give the confidence from the market back. Yeah. So they have quite a lot of mission to inform that they are safe, they do something, yeah, and please come back again to Bali. But for Toraja, not. For Toraja, yeah, they think it will be recovery, and they think they're quite far away from Bali, and yeah, but actually they are forgotten by the market. So yeah, that's two different things what I learned here in Indonesia.
And what are the long-term consequences for Indonesia's tourism industry if we can't get them to adjust or modify their governance approach to sustainable tourism?
As I said, that the Indonesian governance has 3 layers: the central government, provincial, and the local government. For the central government, I have no doubt. They really understand that this is a product. They really observe what is the dynamics of the global. But with this decentralization, with the autonomy that the local government, the district government has very high autonomy, but unfortunately less knowledge, I'm afraid that they don't really understand how to treat this crisis. Means that they really not understand how to maintain their destination towards the potential tourism. So for me, it's a task of the central government they cannot implement something in the district level because it's forbidden, but they have to influence the local government what the local government should do, because the knowledge is not there. The knowledge is only in the central government, but less in the district government. So I think if this pandemic is continuous, then the local governments will also concerned from that perspective to empower the district government to do the proper reactions toward the dynamics of the market, I think.
That's a very complex network that you're working amongst there, Ferry, and yeah, I'm going to turn now to David. David, can I ask you, you've worked all over the world, you've also had a lot of experience in Bali. So what has been successful in the past to get businesses on board, getting businesses to embrace change and comply? So I guess I'm referring firstly to Christin's plight, and that is to get everyone on board in terms of being COVID safe and enhancing the health standards and safety responsibilities. So from your experience, what has been effective, and what advice could we maybe offer in this regard?
I think that's a really good question, and I think that's a question that a lot of countries are asking themselves, not just Indonesia and not just Bali in particular. But I mean, it comes back to, you talked about compliance, but there's 2 options, right? You have to want to do it, or you have to be made to do it. So sticks and carrots. Yep. And I think if you can convince the businesses that looking after their visitors, but also looking after their staff, because it's a risk both ways, right? You don't want the guests to get sick, but you also don't want the guests to bring something in that can then make your staff sick. I think if you convince the business that that's the ultimate goal, then they're more likely to work with you. So that there is a business case for it. And there's also the sort of social case of looking after your people, be that your staff or be that your guests in a way. And what has worked well? Well, I mean, one of the terms that's come up in several of the presentations, so thank you, Christin and Ferry, is systems, right? It's about building a system for change. It's not something you're going to do once and then it's going to work. You're going to plan to do something, you're going to do something, you're going to check if it worked, you're going to change it, and you're going to go again. So doing something like a pilot, like the Swisscontact team has done, is the perfect first step. And you can learn from that, and you can learn what worked in terms of communication. What pieces did they get? What pieces did they not? Where was their resistance? Where was there not? And so then you can adapt the program as you go along. And that's true for this health and safety aspect, but it's also true for sustainability in general. We're not going to solve some of these issues from one day to the next. It's going to take ongoing work and ongoing improvement. So really taking a systems approach and working to always fail forward if something goes wrong. That's sort of, I think, what the big businesses do more, maybe because they have more time and more resources to work on systems rather than working in the business. But with support of organizations like SUSTOUR or other aid programs as well, it allows the businesses to sort of upskill themselves and really work on the business rather than in the business.
Excellent. Yeah. That's a really good answer, David, and thank you for that. Lisa, I'm going to ask you, with based on your expertise, particularly in governance and also the developing nations, what advice would you have for Ferry and Christin, based on your understanding of the challenges that they're facing in onboarding the local people over there, and also trying to manage and respond to any sort of reluctance within the government?
Well, it sounds like Ferry and Christin are well across things, and there's probably not much that I could tell them that they don't already know. But I would say that from the research that we've seen in this space, and it really speaks to what Ferry talked about, and also what David just mentioned, is this sort of more adaptive approach. Some of the work we've seen that some of my colleagues have undertaken in various developing countries has looked at things like adaptive co-management as a way of enhancing the governance systems. And so really a bit of the carrot and stick approach. So there's obviously legislative aspects that can be put in place, but what seems to be most successful is when grassroots stakeholders, local residents, local businesses, SMEs are really on board and legitimately engaged in the governance system. And studies have shown that has been, is far more successful in terms of addressing things like sustainability, environmental protection, and all sorts of things. But also, as Christin was talking about, in terms of compliance with different measures that are being put in place. Obviously, when people see a reason to be involved and they feel engaged with and consulted and respected, they usually will come on board. And many studies around the world have shown that it's not easy to do, of course. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But where it is done, it has been much more successful in reducing conflict and and enhancing the management of these places and destinations where everyone's on board and very motivated to be supporting those objectives.
Excellent, thanks. It sounds to me like there's coming from a marketer, and I am a marketer, not a governance expert, like there's a role for marketing and internal promotion in getting everybody on board and promoting these different approaches as being successful, promoting their success to others to encourage them to come on board. And there's all sorts of fascinating theories to support that, but I'm going to move on because time flies when you're having fun, and we only have 5 minutes left. So what I might do is to enable those who are asking questions to have a say. Oh no, this is just a response to me. And so Michael again has chimed in and said, COVID-19 is a health issue. If we focus on health issue itself and disruption this health issue caused in the tourism industry, I think industry members will want to welcome the introduction of standards and regulations. However, we just push the regulations or introduce a standard to them without emphasising the health issue at hand. Industry members will not accept or refuse, or we may have challenges dealing with the industry members. Thank you very much, Michael, for that insight. We should have invited you onto our panel. Michael's been a great contributor to this session. So that was just the comment there. If I can just conclude with one final question, and this is I want to ask to all of you. We've got 4 minutes left, so you've got a minute each. I'm going to ask this question. Are we wasting time and money focusing on the now? So we are currently in the depths of an extreme situation, and we don't know how long it's going to last. This pandemic and all its concerns may not, if I want to put my opportunistic hat on, may not be here in 5 years' time. So all of these efforts that we're going to and putting in place, do you think we're wasting our time and money, or do you think it's going to be all worth it in the end? David, I'll start with you.
Oh, that's a bit mean, making me go first. No, I think it's a great question, and the answer has to be it depends. It depends on how you approach this. If you sort of use these standards as a tick the box exercise to just get your certificate and do the very minimum to keep your guests safe, then it's probably a waste of time. But if you use it to actually change the systems and the way you run your business and the way that you make operational changes so that you can adapt to any issues that come up in a more systematic manner, so making your business model or your destination more resilient, then I think it's time and energy well spent. And there are bigger issues on the horizon. COVID might be a 5-year blip, but we're on a long fight on climate change. So if we can actually use this time to improve our systems, improve our businesses, then I think that's time and energy well spent. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. I agree. Lisa?
Yeah, it's a good question, Gabby. I think, you know, in 5 years' time, we will probably be very used to it. And just like we're very used to security check-ins at airports now that we wouldn't have worried about 25 years ago. In terms of just reflecting on Michael's question there, you know, which way to do it, I think consumers are going to just demand it and expect it. And that's probably the best carrot that we will see happen, is when consumers say they want something and they're not coming unless it's there. That will be a bit of a driver. But in terms of should we bother? Of course we should bother. We should definitely try our best. I personally am nervous that COVID will be a fantastic excuse to return to a very pro-growth model that we saw in the 80s and late 70s, 80s, and that economic recovery will override these concerns, these investments. I mean, we kind of got excited about emissions from flights in 2020 that, you know, they look so good and things, you know, it was going to be a new normal. But then we have, you know, Australians just flying around in the sky for something to do. You know, it doesn't suggest that that's had deeply penetrated the psyche there. I would hope that most countries have come far enough on the sustainability pathway. It's certainly not perfect anywhere, but, you know, there are these norms in place now that I would hope we wouldn't lose altogether. But I think it would just be really important for the industry, for residents to have that voice to ensure that it isn't all about the economy and making money through as many visitors coming in as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Lisa. It's 3 o'clock, but I think we can maybe just have an extra 30 seconds each. Ferry, what's your view on this? Should we be bothering, you know, living in the now, or in 5 years' time, COVID might not be here, but is what we're doing still going to be important and relevant?
Yeah, I don't think that this is wasting time. I'm trying to think simply that the tourism sector will not going to disappear. For Indonesian context, before the pandemic, it's already the highest turnover above the palm oil, above the oil and gas, and for example. And everybody still believe that it will be back. And now it's a journey to find out the new format of the tourism. That's the problem, and the knowledge is not sufficient. And I think what we do now might be useful, might be not useful in the next 5 years, but it's a part of the journey for the new format of the tourism, I think.
Thank you. And Christin, last but not least, what's your view on this?
Thank you. Very quickly, I agree. It is. I also think it's not a waste of money, especially from a perspective where we come from, from Swisscontact and SUSTOUR, where we do invest into system changes and systemic changes. So with COVID and all those measures that we are doing now, it's actually an investment into the resilience and the resilience of the tourism industry. So especially if you look at it from the perspective of emerging economies or developing countries, where you would want to have heightened health standards anyway, and the tourism industry to implement them on a proper level in the future. So yeah, even if COVID is not around in the next 5 years, then we still do invest into the resilience, and as David mentioned previously, also prepare them for future crises. So it must not necessarily be COVID, but who knows what is next. So it's an investment into resilience.
Excellent. And I've heard time and time again that this represents a great opportunity for the tourism industry to reset, to stop and think and reset and come and build back better. And I'm sure we've all heard that term. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you everybody for joining us today. And can I really pass on my heartfelt thanks to our wonderful presenters today and our panelists, David, Lisa, Ferry and Christin. That's the end of our session. I feel like there's going to be a big hook around my neck or a gong any minute now. But thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the conference and stay safe.